All right, guys, what's happening? I'm gonna turn on my fan real quick. All right, so Tuesday Night Live. If you're just joining or watching the replay, you can go ahead and skip to like 2 minutes in. All right, that's when I'll get started here. But going live now, so if anybody tunes in, they can sit tight. Oh man, just trimmed up, got the stash going, baby. It's back for America's Strongest Man. I thought Reno Nell looks cool with his mustache. So I got one myself. Ugh, that's it. Strainer season, baby. It's warm outside. We're going to get it going. So, all right. Here's what I want to talk about tonight, and that is the biggest, most important thing. I say it all the time. The number one skill that you can have to be a successful strength athlete is the ability to shift your state, all right? That is the numero uno, guys, and that is talking about being from like super hype to super chill, back and forth, super chill, super hype. If you get angry and something pisses you off, being able to get calm and turn your attitude around, be cool. If you make a mistake, have the ability to not panic and lose, your focus, okay? So shift state. Hopefully my markers are working. There we go. But the easiest way to do this is through breath control. I titled the YouTube video Breathwork, but it's just kind of like a part of it. Right? So breath control and how to shift your state. So your body is in one of two modes, right? Yin and yang. You always got to think about anabolic, catabolic, but you're really going to be in a sympathetic or parasympathetic state. And what does that mean? That just means basically you're turned on, active, or you are turned off and recovering. And we need to be in both at different times. Now, there's so many body physiological processes that go into each of these things. So when we're talking about the sympathetic state, that is the like turned on. That is, caffeinated, stimulating, alert, heart rate is up, breathing rate is higher, and we're actually like breaking down tissues. Okay, so a workout session is catabolic, all right, because that's the goal. We want to break things down. So when we're anabolic, we're building back up. But anabolic is key to the parasympathetic state, which is recovery, digest, rest, sleep, cool, calm, collected, right? So let's get into like Strongman. Why is it important to understand the difference between the two? It's because you just need to understand that you are somewhere on the spectrum of these things at all times. You're never really going to be truly 100% alert. You're never truly going to be 100% like chill. That's like being dead. All right. So we're somewhere on this, spectrum, and what's in your body, what's on your mind, the way you slept last night, all goes into, right? It's just influences. It's like the weather, right? It could be cold that day, so you're probably going to get chilly, that sort of thing. If you're caffeinated, you're more likely to have an increased heart rate, but not necessarily. It just is like the inclination to be more aroused, okay? Because we all know people that can drink like 3 or 4 Reigns and they're barely get anything out of it. That's a whole separate problem in itself, guys. But let's just kind of get into, again, Strongman applications. There are certain events and moments when you want to be sympathetic. So like alert and focused. All right, let's just say like alert times. Alert. Okay. Let's say alert and hype. 1 rep max, guys. And that's like specifically for deadlift. So 1 rep max, you want to be like cranked the fuck up, because that's something where you can really just be all intensity and get it done. If we're talking about something like a log press or something that's much higher technical, and this is different for every individual, right? Some people are log press savants, and they are so perfect at it that they can just turn up all the way and don't need to like have that laser focus. They can just like crank the level to 100 and just rep it out. And that would be true for you too. If you were doing something light and you could just like vibro press it over and over and over again, you would just want to like hit the gas and go, go, go. Other moments like carries, all right? And to a point, like speed work, right? Speed work. And this is like after you pick this up. So, again, it's balancing when we want to be super aroused, when we don't want to be aroused, because we're picking up an object like a heavy frame, heavy yoke, very important on this, a sandbag. We cannot be so aroused that we are blinded to, our form, right? Like I said with deadlifts, like to a point with that, once you're strapped in, if your form's pretty good, you can just kind of turn it off and grit through with adrenaline. But that's not the same with picking up a yoke or a sandbag. One mistake is pretty costly. So what you kind of want to do, though, is get calm, pick it up correctly, and then once you stabilize, boom, hit the jets, right? Like this is what I talk about with carries all the time. Is like the first 5 to 10 feet make all the difference. And you don't really want to start super fast. You want to start correct, right? Because if you start those carries correctly, then you're going to be able to get to a top speed and maintain it for longer, right? Versus instead, let's say you pick up the farmer's handles and you get a really quick start and you beat everybody off the line, but you're swaying the first 20 feet. Well, you're going to be fighting that while that person next to you who started their first 5 to 10 feet a little slower is hitting top speed at 10 feet, and then they're just going to zoom right past you. So that's what we're talking about here, is just like being able to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth between alert and aroused. So getting into like other states when we want to be like calm or focused. And again, there are like ranges to this, because focus can be an aroused, in an aroused state. Focus can also be in like a meditative state, right? Meditation's that fine line where you're just kind of focusing on what's within your mind, your thoughts, and you're clearing yourself out from everything else. So you're just focusing on your breath, right? That's very, very super calm. So let's just like be understanding that we're talking about focus as not all the way like 0 out of 10 intensity. It's just spectrum, right? Everything is a spectrum. So calm focused for me, I'm going to say max distance. Okay. Why? Because there's going to be a point when if you're really pushing it on max distance, like your heart rate is going to get crazy. You're going to panic. Your legs are tired. And if your just heart rate's going boom, 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 you're basically creating anxiety within yourself, which is not the worst thing in the world. But if you have a little more presence and state of mind and you don't let that panic take over, then you are going to be able to go further for longer. All right. And this is, again, these are physiological responses. So it's going to happen. Like, so if you start panicking, this is not where we're getting into breathing, is we need to be able to turn down. So we're not freaking out about, shit, oh, I'm so tired. Oh, this thing's so heavy on me. Instead, we return to our breathing. So breath is tied directly to heart rate. Okay, major concept. This is kind of the whole point of all of this. Now, when you breathe, in, you're bringing in oxygen, and out is CO2, carbon dioxide. Just a little bit about the like actual science of it. So breathing in specifically through your nose brings oxygen to you. What happens when oxygen gets into your body? It allows for the delivery of blood and the right blood cells to your muscles. When in the presence of like the nutrients that you should be eating, it's going to deliver like the carbs, fats, etc., the proteins that you need into the body, like in the right times and moments. But specifically in competition, right, you should have some carbs in your system, convert it into ATP. Efficient oxygen in is going to shuttle that ATP and allow your body to get the most out of it. So it's also true with like water and electrolytes and this and that. Just like the better you can oxygenate, the more you're going to have good performance. So in oxygen, out carbon dioxide. But when your body, let's take a step back, there's always like a balance here, right? So if you were to picture, whatever, like the scales of justice, right, or whatever, like there's always some sort of balance here. So it's going to tip one way or another. And when we're talking about shifting your state and controlling that, to some degree, it's what your breath rate is doing. Okay, think about if you were to hold your breath as long as possible. This is actually something that they call CO2 tolerance. So CO2 tolerance. This is why breath holds are important training. And I'm actually going to give you some specific ways to do this stuff if you keep listening. But breath holds are really important because they train the panic response. When your body accumulates carbon dioxide, and physiology, mind, body, soul, it's all connected, all together. Your mind is going to start thinking like, fuck, like I'm running out of air, and I'm in trouble, okay? But you have to override that in order to push through, right? So that's, again, when we're talking about something like a max distance carry, your body's going to be saying, fuck, I can't go any longer. But if you mentally override this, then you will be able to go further. Like, this is something you just have to think about. There's hundreds and thousands and millions of stories of people that have done these outrageous feats of strength or performance, endurance. Eddie Hall's 1,000-pound 500-kilo deadlift, 1102, should not have been able to do that really, according to the limits, right, of human physiology, psychology, and physical capabilities. But he just mentally tuned in so hard that he was able to will himself, to doing, 7% more than anybody had ever done at that point in time, just on a moment's notice. And it literally almost killed him. Anyways, we all have the ability to tap into that at some degree. So I want you to start seeing, when I'm talking about how your breathing and your panic response and your mental game is really important. Try to understand that by practicing things like breathing at specific cadences, you influence the ability to let yourself tap into more aggressive states or bring it back down, right? CO2 tolerance, right? Wim Hof is the biggest method of this. And Wim Hof, right, is breath of fire, right? It's a breath of fire. It's also called Tumo breaths. It's what the ancient Nepalese Buddhist monks used to call it, but it's a very rapid inhale, exhale. Now, it can't be through the nose. It can be through the mouth, but in, out, in, out. So if you're doing the nose, it would be, but you could do it through the mouth, whatever. And what you're doing is you're flooding your body with, again, oxygen, white blood cells, in order to create an immune response in your body that your body, what's the right way to say this? You're creating an immune response in your body to allow it to be stronger, right? So it's battling down the defenses. It's bolstering its defense mechanisms inside the body. So when you're coming up against things like a breath hold where you are deprived of oxygen, you're going to be able to push past the point that you normally could with some of this rapid inhale exhales because of you strengthening your immune response, right? So this is something you can try for yourself. And probably now is not the time to do this, or now, whatever, fuck it, I don't care. I'm not your boss. But if you were to do this, I think do it in the morning first thing tomorrow, and then try protocol B the next day. So I'll tell you what to do. Try a breath hold out as long as you can. So, deep breath in and then out. You got to breathe all the way down into your belly. Okay, so that's not really that long, probably extra 10 seconds that I did before I turned the thing on, whatever. But there's not like a you should be able to do this long. But this is influenced in the wrong way because like I just did my cold plunge, I'm like fucking jacked up. I'm talking at an excited pace because like I enjoy talking about these things. But now, what you would want to do is a series of like rapid inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. 30 of those, forceful and powerful, and then big breath in, big breath out. And I guarantee you're going to be able to hold now a lot longer. So again, this is about like bolstering your body's defenses so that you are able to withstand more pressure and like this deeper push here. All right. So we're kind of talking about now how can we like mentally, crank up and tune harder. This is like one way, right? It's just like inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, right? Energize. But there's also, the other end where we want to tune it down. Since we have this balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide, basically when your body has more carbon dioxide, it's more likely to have a higher heart rate. This is, associated like shortened breath, like people with anxiety, this and that. So what we want to do is flip it the other direction where we have deeper periods of exhale. So we're getting a lot of this out. So one of the most common patterns is 4-6. People call this resonance breathing, right? Okay, and this is a 4-second in, 6-second out exhale. So what we're doing is actually shifting the balance between oxygen and carbon dioxide. And this is like not something that has a super huge effect. I shouldn't say that. This is something when people do it for the first time, they feel like a totally new person right away. But we're talking about practicing and training and doing this over and over and over again. So this would be like a ideally 20-minute protocol where you breathe in through your nose for 4, flood your body with oxygen, and slowly out for 6 to expel all of this carbon dioxide. And we're slowly increasing the balance in our body of oxygen. So we're like bringing in like the calm, the nutrients, and all those things that are good. We're getting oxygenation to our blood, our muscles. We're not tensing up. We're in recovery now. We're safe, right? This is telling our nervous system that we are safe is what this is doing with this inhale with a longer exhale. So there's different ways to do this, but like the important part is that you can't just really do this stuff on a whim. But you still can. It works, right? Like, I don't want to just say like you can't just do it once. I'm saying this wrong. It gets better with more practice. Like anything else in Strongman, you want to be able to just have this big body of evidence that you can rely on, that your body taps into, right? It's like the same as waking up at the same time every day. If you want to wake up at 4 a.m. every day, first couple of times it's going to be difficult, blah, 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 but then eventually your body's just going to like get used to it, right? Same thing, right? The first time we are going to do one of these breathing patterns, it might be difficult, it might feel abnormal to us, but if we do it over and over again, and this isn't like a million times every day, this could be twice a week, right? If you're in Strongman for the right reasons, and hopefully you are, like you're in this for like some time. You're not just dipping your toes in for 6 months and then you're out. Like think about what 3 times a week for 10 minutes would do, over the course of a year. That would be 52, right? Like 5 times 30, right? Like 1,500 minutes of practice from now to a year from now. 1,500 minutes. That's a lot of time, guys. That really have an impact on your ability to, either turn up or turn down, or both, right? And then there's different ways that you can combine these patterns. So a lot of people will do like an in-out, like Wim Hof aggressive thing. So they have the ability to crank it up and then finish with resonance, or another popular one is coherence. Now, this coherence is kind of an interesting one because there's a lot of different ancient tribes, cultures, religions that have this 5.5 seconds in, 5.5 seconds out coded into things like Gregorian chants or songs that Buddhist monks and what's the word I'm looking for? It's not mantras, but whatever, like the prayers that Buddhist monks would do. I'm losing the word. Anyways, but whatever. All sorts of different things, and they all end up on this 5.5 in, 5.5 out because it just is like proven to calm and create balance in your system, right? So the more you do that, the better you get. That's that. So we want to just, again, think about how we can calm ourselves at the right moments and how we can excite ourselves at the right moments. And also, most importantly, having the discretion to know when that time is. So that's what all of this is about. I'm going to be putting a heck of a lot more out there on this topic, but that's all I got for you tonight, guys. Kind of short, sweet, little primer. I will come back, give you some more info and patterns and this and that. But thanks for tuning in. Have a championship night, peoples.